very good afternoon to everyone that's joined this afternoon. I think we're going to give it a few more seconds as I can see more people are joining in, which is great. Um, Perfect. I imagine all the tech is working fine. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have had a few messages. Um, Right, perfect. Let's kick off. Very warm welcome to everybody that has signed up to this webinar today. If you have to drop off midway because you've got other stuff to do, don't worry. We'll send you the recording. It's going to be available. And of course, the admissions team's always around to help, and we'll share all the details that you need in order to get in touch with us. Whether you are new to Oxford Summer Courses, you've been looking at our courses for a while and finally want to make a decision, no questions are off limits. I'm very much looking forward to having a robust Q&A today. Feel free to keep sending your questions over during the presentation. We will have some time dedicated at the end to go through them. And I also have my colleague Clara, who is working her tech magic behind the scenes, who'll also be happy to answer any questions that come in on the chat. Without further ado, this is the last one for this quarter of our weekly admissions information session. And I'm Sayantani, and I head the team for our UK programs here in Oxford. Just to give you an outline, we're going to go through very quickly a brief history, student breakdown, where do our students come from. I'll dip into the courses with our confirmed inventory, where our students are going to be staying in 2026. We've got that information, so that's really exciting. I'll go through what's included and then, of course, talk you through the application process, what we need to do, by what deadlines to kind of make sure your application's in, assessed, and you can enroll onto a program for summer 2026. I'll touch upon a few things like our pricing structure. We won't spend too much time on it unless you guys have lots of questions about it. And of course, our approach to teaching, safeguarding, just how we make the magic happen every summer. And of course, as I mentioned, there is going to be dedicated time to answer all your questions, so keep them coming. Brief history, we are about to go into our 17th summer. So that is a long time of doing what we've been doing. We've we've worked across the world, really. We've had programs all over, and now we're focusing on our programs in Oxford, in Cambridge, in Harrow School, and with our strategic partnership with Summer Discovery, we've now expanded to the US and have programs in the US, East Coast, West Coast, and was a program also in Madrid. Over the years, it's not surprising that our courses have been highly recommended. We won a number of awards, and we're really proud of this achievement. And with our combined organizations with Summer Discovery, we're hoping to, become the one global provider of excellent pre-college summer programs in the world. Our programs in the UK are 95% international students. We represent over 120 nationalities, and really we do get a diverse melting pot of cultures over the summer, which is excellent to see. We conduct a lot of focus groups with students while they're on the course, and certainly over the years that I've been here, now nearly 7 years. We always it's always a very heartwarming to listen to our students say, one of my closest friends on the course is from a country I never thought I would ever have a friend from, because you just tend to. I think it's a program that is truly beyond borders, and that is something that we really work hard to ensure, is the experience that all our students get. Having said that, our programs are academic in nature, and that means there are certain things that we need to make sure. We offer a truly personalized, bespoke delivery of our programs. So no 2 years are the same. I mean, we've got quite a high percentage of students that come year on year and our alumni, are referring friends, and that, every year is special and different because we don't have a set curriculum. So if we try to keep the class sizes very small, I would say on average it's a class size of 6. For our more popular programs, you'll have an average of 8. Um, and we try to keep it small. This way, the tutor gets to really engage with the students on the program. They really get to learn about, the particular student's needs. And essentially, you're in charge of your learning when this happens. It also means there's no place for you to hide in the classroom. But this is a good thing because it challenges you to make the most of, being in the room with a brilliant academic, who specializes in the field you're interested in. It also gives you an opportunity to really delve into your interests. So, for example, if we've got a class of 4 students who want to all do ancient history, um, what we would do is we would go and get a specialist from the many tutors that we work with over the years. We would ensure that we appoint a specialist in ancient history to teach that class, which then means that we're not just getting standard tutors for curriculums that aren't flexible. So if you really want to learn about ancient history for 2 weeks in Oxford, we will get you an expert that will help you do that. I'll talk about this a bit more when we talk about our application process, but it really is such a key part of the tutorial methodology, which then gets us to our key method of teaching is what we call the Socratic method of teaching, which is the type of teaching that is done at Oxford and Cambridge. It's based on critical thinking, and you basically learn by questioning. This is again, sometimes students, before they come on the program, they find it a bit daunting, it's a bit nerve-wracking. If you've not done that, if you've been in large classes and you're a bit shy, my only advice to you is, there aren't any stupid questions. You're here because you've got a curiosity to learn. So you should ask your questions and make the most of the 2 weeks that you are on the program. Um, there's the one of the other things that is a key part of this approach is how much we like to tailor the experience to the students that come on the program. And I know that that means we have to limit our classes to no more than 8, for some popular subjects, no more than 10. And that does put a strain in terms of how many students can actually be on the program, because there is a natural limitation to how many students we can take. And I know that that does mean that a lot of students miss out because of the high demand that we do get. But this is why, of course, we encourage students to, make early decisions, because every year we see that the demand is growing and more families are keen on having truly personalized educational experiences that aren't, the same year on year, week on week. Um, I'm going to quickly dive into some of the locations for our key age groups. So, what we call our juniors programs, we have 2 subgroups under that, if you will. We have the explorers who are in the 9 to 12 category, and then we have the scholars who are in the 12 to 14 category. Now, the standard length of a program for the juniors course is 1 week. But what we tend to do, especially for the explorers and the scholars, they are in different boarding blocks and they have a completely different structure. Just by virtue of being older as well, the scholars program is more advanced. So if you're a 12-year-old who's slightly on the cusp of the juniors and the scholars program, and you're really not sure which one is right for you, this is where I would say make use of the admissions consultations that myself and my team are always available to chat to families to find out what program um, is the right fit for you. Because there could be some stuff that you think might be right for you, but it's always good to have a chat about these things to make sure that you are making the right decision as part of your summer program. The 9 to 12s and the 12 to 14s, as I said, these are a standard 1 week, both in the historic Harrow School, just outside of London. That does make this location quite attractive for parents because it does mean that if you were to plan your holidays around it, it's quite easy to get to. And it's a very secure campus, which is ideal for this particular age group. Moving on, Oxford 13, 15, 16, 17, 18 to 24. I've popped on the slide the confirmed venues for these different age groups. So as you can see, for the 13 to 15s this year, we have St Anne's College, Worcester College, and my alma mater, St Hugh's College. I'm very excited about that. For our 16 to 17s, we have Somerville College, St Hilda's on St Giles, and for our 18 to 24s, we have Lady Margaret Hall. The key thing to note about these colleges is they're all central Oxford colleges, all within walking distance to one another, which makes the program really quite exciting for the students because it gives them the safety, the security, and the confidence to actually go around the city without having to, cross any busy roads or need to take any public transport because it's a very walkable city. And we try to make sure that all our locations are centrally located to facilitate this a bit more and, help students build that independence and that confidence. Um, Looking at our Cambridge programs, um, we have, oh dear, looking at our Cambridge programs, we have 13 to 15, 16 to 17s, 18 to 24s. And I can see, I'm not sure why the slide has cut this off, but for our 13 to 15s, we have Murray Edwards, Newnham College. 16 to 17s, we've got Fitzwilliam, Sydney, Sussex, and for our 18 to 24, we again have Murray Edwards. Again, with Cambridge being a super walkable city, it does make having programs in central locations really, really good, a good way for students to really understand what it's actually like to be, a student in one of these iconic university towns. What's included? This comes up a lot. In fact, I was talking to a family this morning, and this is something that it's for year. We've been doing these programs for years, and the one thing that we want to make sure is there are no hidden costs. So you go into applying for a program, getting selected for one, and enrolling for one. You know what you're signing up for. So all your teaching, any resources needed, any reading material, all of that is provided and included in the fees. Accommodation is included in the fees, so there are no extras there. Um, if you're in the 13 to 15 category, or basically anyone under the age of 16, it's full board, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner is included. If you're older than 16, then it's breakfast and dinner, but lunch is something that students typically sort out themselves. It's a really good way for them to experience the city. They go out in groups of minimum three. They go to local cafes we recommend. There are lots of independent cafes in and around, and we help you budget that as well. So at the point of your admissions calls with myself or the rest of my team, we would be happy to guide you in terms of giving you approximation for how much spending money you would roughly need for lunches. Um, Evening meals are a mixture of meals in the historic college dining halls and also in local restaurants. It's a good way to kind of mix it up. English food, isn't always the best, so it's good to be able to try out different cuisines. It's also more reflective of the a typical student experience where you would eat out, um, if you can, wherever possible, just to get a break from the college dining hall food. On Fridays, we offer what is typically known as a formal hall. This is a very typically traditional Oxbridge experience where you have a three-course meal, students dress up slightly smarter, and then what follows the three-course meal is a little disco, which we call bop. In Oxford, we tend to have our own terminology for things, which is slightly eccentric, but all good fun. On the final Friday, students have their graduation ceremony. This is typically a very special moment for students who have now made friends with people over, the 2 weeks. They've got really close to these people, and they all collect their certificates. We get professional photographers, so everyone gets an individual photo as well as lots of group shots with their friends. It's followed by the three-course formal hall, and then there's a little disco to mark, the celebration of a successful completion of their program. Um, After 2 weeks, roughly within 2 weeks of finishing the program, students will receive a letter of recommendation from the tutor. This is a detailed letter of recommendation. There are two elements to the letter of recommendation. One part is, as it is, a letter of recommendation stating what you studied, how much time you spent on the program, how many teaching hours, what you took away from it. And the second bit is more of a report on the things that you've done. Um, so the other thing that is included is all scheduled visits. So depending on your age groups, you'll either have a day trip once a week or twice a week. Typically for students over the ages of 16, it's once a week on the Saturday. And this could be, there's a lot of historic places around us. It could be a full day trip to London, which gives students a chance to see the more iconic historical sites. We like to give students some time to go and shop because we know this is important to students. And it really is just a nice day out and for them to experience a place as iconic as London. This can also be further afield depending on the course you're on, and these have typically been to the Roman baths, or students have gone further out for a day trip to Norwich. There's just a lot of different scheduled visits. And you will learn about all of this, when you're enrolled, we'll be able to share all the details of where you'll be going and what you'll be doing. As part of any program that students sign up for, we've got a tiered pricing, whether that's, plus, superior, or premier. We offer travel and medical insurance. We know this is important to our families. As I said, majority of our students are international, and we want to make this as smooth as possible for you. We offer airport transfers. This is typically from London Heathrow Airport. That's not usually a problem. It is one of the largest airports, and it is where most of our students are traveling via. So we make sure that we have, an airport transfer team that's there to pick you up and take you to the college, and do the same thing on departure day to make sure, you make your flight on time. And last but not the least, and this is something that students over the years have found very helpful, is when students enroll on a program with us, they get access to our online preparation course, which is known as Oxford Foundations. And what it really is, it prepares you for what you can expect on the course. It'll give you sometimes extended reading lists depending on which subjects you sign up for. We'll go through some of the more academic skills that aren't typically taught in schools, so how to do referencing for an essay, for instance, depending on your subject, what to expect in a tutorial, because that's not something that students are typically familiar with. And it's just a great way to I would say to just get excited about the program, because there's so much stuff there, study skills, just like, previous webinars that we've done, subject-specific webinars we've done, just a way to like really get excited about the program. And that again is included in the cost, and that pretty much is pretty comprehensive in terms of what we offer. I'm going to quickly go past our course dates. Now, this is just to give you a sense of the 8 weeks that are on offer in the summer. This will depend and be different, and it'll differ depending on the subject you pick, the location you pick. All these dates aren't available for everything, so do have a look at our website, and availability is shifting. So I would say while these are our overall dates of the 8 weeks we operate in the summer, it'll depend on the subject, the location, the dates that are available. Right. Now, the most exciting part is the application process. What I always say typically to students who are nervous about applying, and they're not really conscious that, they'd be like, oh, I don't have straight A's, or, I don't have a super high GPA. The only thing I will say is this is a summer program. We do require you to, and it is taught, it's a taught English program. So you have to be able to speak at least B1 level of English in order to make the most of your time on the program. But other than those very strict cutoffs, the other thing that I would say is don't worry about your grades in school. If you are enthusiastic, if you are curious about the world, and you genuinely want to do something meaningful in the summer, go for it. Um, we're not looking for straight A's. Um, we're looking for somebody who wants to push themselves out of their comfort zone, learn from an expert who's been, doing this for a while, and just basically leave the summer with something that, you can't actually put a grade on, which is why we don't. Um, so our application form, I think my colleague Clara has very helpfully put the link in the chat. If you go on the application form, there are a few things that you need to be mindful of. I know a lot of different school systems will work on different categorization. So a lot of courses are determined based on grade levels. For us, the date of birth is very, very important because that determines which age group you get placed into, which will then subsequently determine which subjects you get, which locations you get. So the date of birth is very, very important. We follow the UK style, so date, month, year. That's the format within which we get the date of birth. And the date of birth is what your date of birth will be on the first day of the program you want to pick. So if you will be 16 on the first day of the course, you get placed in the 16 to 17 program. Um, and then once you filled in the date, the subjects will automatically populate for you and you'll see what subjects are available. I'm assuming you've come to this page after you've done a little bit of a research or you've spoken to me or one of my colleagues and you already know what subject you're looking for. And then you'll see the accommodation options, which will tell you the type of rooms you can get, whether that's, and I'll talk about this when we talk about our pricing tier. And then you can see all the available dates. Now, bearing in mind, if you've seen an available date today, there is no guarantee that that date will still be available. The one thing, if there's one thing everybody takes away from the session, there are usually only 8 spots per course. So it's not unlikely that your course will sell out if you leave it long. So that's something that I will just make very clear. So once you've completed this, you'd be expected to write a personal statement. Now, this personal statement, we used to have a limitation on how much, but over the years, we see students want to write a lot more. And frankly, I'm not going to restrict that. I'm very, very keen to have students give detailed personal statements. Not only are they a delight to read, but it also paints a really good picture of the type of applicant that wants to come on our program. So the next page would take you to your application personal statement. This is minimum 350 words. And what I would encourage you to do with this personal statement question is tell us, why this program is right for you. And when you're doing that, tell us what you've done in the subject that you've picked, or if you haven't done anything in the subject that you've picked and you just want to try it out, tell us why. Tell us why it appeals to you, and give us a sense of the type of student you are. Um, and once you submit your personal statement, that then gets assigned to an admissions advisor, including myself. We're a team of 8, and a mighty team of 8 at that. We are a very, very international bunch. We speak multiple languages. And I think between myself and my 7 colleagues, I think we pretty much cover all of the globe, which is really quite exciting and remarkable. So you would get assigned an admissions advisor, and you will expect to hear from us within 24 hours of submitting your application. We don't believe in getting students to go through hoops when they've already decided to do something meaningful with their summer, but we do want to talk to you. We want to learn more about you. We want to know what exciting stuff you're bringing to the table at the summer program. So we will want to talk to you, and it's a very important part of the application process that myself or my team are able to speak to students, whether that's over a video call, over a phone call. That's really a key part of the admissions process. So depending on your your personal statement, and your admissions interview, you will get the results of your application. I would say fairly quickly. We try to keep quite a strict turnaround on this, and we do have my team working different hours to make sure we are able to stay on top of it, simply because, again, we don't have a lot of places on offer and we don't want people to miss out. Um, so you will get a call from us. It's very important to know that this will be from a UK number. So, don't panic. Don't think we're here to spam you. We just want to have a chat to you. We do note in the application form your preference of communication. Sometimes phone calls really are not convenient, and we do appreciate that. So, if you would rather communicate via email, that's what we'll do. But we do need to conduct an interview with the candidate in some shape or form. So that would either be a video call or a phone call, but we will organize this at your convenience. And it won't be more than 15 minutes. But it can be longer if you've got lots of questions. The interview is also an opportunity for you to get to ask us questions that, isn't quite clear on the website, or you might just have some questions, I'm sure we've not managed to answer every single one of them on the website. Um, so when a student has received an application confirmation, so your application's been successful, you'll then receive emails from us because that confirms the fulfillment of the academic criteria of the program. And then, of course, there are the financial criteria that students need to fulfill in order to confirm their place on the program. I would say when we are emailing you, do check your spam folders, because if we've not emailed you before, it might go in there. So keep an eye out for that. But it does happen quite quickly. And the way in which you can confirm your spot on the program is by paying a deposit. And the outstanding fees aren't due until nearer the time of the course. Um, and you have a dedicated admissions advisor up until the process of enrolling on the program, and then you get a dedicated student services um, person that is then there to answer all your questions, from packing lists and travel and airport transfer. So you will always have somebody you can contact. Um, and if you're nervous and you would just rather talk to someone on the admissions team, don't worry, contact us. We're all a friendly bunch and we're happy to answer your questions. Um, but what I'm saying is that we're always, just an email away. So feel free to get in touch with us. Very quickly, and I'm conscious that I have spoken at you for a while now. So why us? Our offering is diverse. Our offering covers a lot of interests. I would say majority of interests will fall into the 40 different subjects that we offer across age groups. Small class sizes, I cannot emphasize this enough. One of the key things I remember from my studies at Oxford is um, the tutorials. It's really something that was incredible. It changed my life, and I've never learnt in that sort of style. Um, and I've not really been very shy when I was younger, but it really brought me out of my shell. And it encouraged me to ask questions. It encouraged me to challenge my own assumptions, which I think is really important. And that is something that we've hoped to mirror in these short courses with international students, because it is such an incredible way of learning. And it does change the way you go about your studies, which is really impactful when you're at such a young age. The curriculum is designed by your tutor, by an expert around what you want to study. It is based on what the majority of the people in your small class wants to study. So there really is no one size fits all. Um, you get to interact with international students, which I think today more than ever, now more than ever is so important. We are stronger together, stronger in a diverse group than we are apart. And I think that it is incredible to watch in the summer, all of that happening with students getting along from all over the world. It really is an incredible experience in that sense. And of course, you get rewarded in the form of a certificate, but more importantly, a letter of recommendation. Every student that successfully completes the program gets this letter of recommendation. And even now, I will get, messages from students who will be like, can you resend me my letter of recommendation. Can you let my tutor know that I've put them down as a referee for something that I'm about to do? And we're happy to do that. And that is why we're here to support you in that. Um, let's move on. I have touched upon this, but I think this is, again, really, really important part of why we do what we do. Safeguarding is a really, really key part. We are what you'd call in loco parentis of many, many, many students under the age of 18 from all over the world. We have a zero tolerance policy for bullying, discrimination, and harassment. Every single student gets a student handbook, gets the student rule book, and we take it very seriously. Serious disciplinary issues do result in immediate dismissal. We've got robust processes for this. We've got trained safeguarding professionals that are available 24/7 in the course of your program. Parents have the phone number for the person they can contact 24/7. Students have the phone numbers. Everybody knows somebody they can phone when you're on the program. All our staff undergo a DBS check, which is in the UK a disclosure barring certificate, which is to make sure it's what we'd call a criminal record check to make sure that the sort of people who are working with adults, young adults, and under 18 minor children are the right sort of people to be working with us. We've got supervision, and our ratios student to staff are always appropriately carved out to make sure we always have the right number of adult supervision with young people. And of course, there are clear staff roles to make sure that our on-course team, who are trained to be around young people, who are trained to work with young people, are as empowered as they can be to support students over the summer, which for a lot of students is their first time away from home. Um, I mentioned this already, but our service really is door to door. Meet and greet service at Heathrow. Give us your flight times. We'll track your flights. If your flight's running late, don't worry. We have a bus or coach service that leaves by the hour, so no one gets left behind and you don't wait for long at the airport. On-course travel support, we will have um, as I said, we also do our insurance services that will cover your travel and medical in case you lose your bag, in case your flight's delayed and you miss your connection flight. All of that stuff is covered. We offer, and this is something that my colleagues in the services team, once you've enrolled, will share with you that, your travel pack, visa support letter if you need it. All of this is sent to you in a timely fashion to make sure you're able to go to these appointments on time and you're able to, secure one to ensure that you are able to travel. And then, of course, we have trained welfare professionals. For our juniors programs, we have a nurse on site to make sure that you are looked after at all points in the program. Um, I'm going to quickly go through our pricing structure. This is looking at our explorers and our scholars. Um, we offer non-residential options for all of our programs, and this works quite well for parents, who have perhaps a second home here or have family here, or would just rather organize their own accommodation, which is absolutely fine. It does ensure that, I mean, you will be then given a specific timetable to you to ensure that your child is dropped off and picked up to make sure they don't miss any of the social, cultural, and academic enrichment. Um, our pricing structure for our older kids, these are applicable in Oxford and Cambridge. As I said, we have non-residential options for all, but we also have tiered pricing for Plus, Superior, and Premier. Um, I mean, with the Superior tier, tends to be quite popular with our first-time students because it does ensure, especially if you've not been on a camp before, it ensures you get a private room with a private bathroom. That seems to be very, very important to our students. It certainly was not something we were offered at university when I did my course, um, but it is something that we are quite grateful with our university partners to be able to offer that. And then, of course, we have our Premier tier, and one of the key highlights of that is that you get, an additional study skills workshop. We're able to do out of hours pickups for you. Often we have quite a large window between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. where we offer our airport transfer service on arrival day. But often, if you are coming from slightly further away, you might not get a flight that fits that mold. And for that, you do get enhanced travel and medical insurance as part of the Premier package. You get a choice of the room, whether you want a single room, a twin room, an ensuite room. You can have a pick of the available rooms. And of course, I think the really valuable bit there is the study skills workshop that you get with an Oxbridge tutor, which isn't something that is easily accessible. Um, right, I've kind of raced through that. Um, I feel like I've given you all a lot of information. I've popped my email on there. If you do think of questions after the webinar, but I'm going to quickly have a chat, look at the chat to see what questions have come in and if there's any that need answering or if my colleague Clara has powered through them. Uh, I am just going to have a look here. Okay. Um, I think we've answered all the questions that have come through, which is great. I can see a lot of questions around accommodation and dietary requirements. That does seem to be quite popular. Um, does anyone have any other questions if they want to pop that in the chat? Clara, thank you so much for answering all these questions. I do appreciate it. She really is doing the Lord's work. Um, if you don't, that's okay. That means that I've done a great job and you've understood everything. So do feel free to drop me an email. I'd be happy to have a chat to you. We can organize a video call or a phone call, and either myself or my colleagues are, always at hand, working different time zones to be able to accommodate different needs. Thank you very much for all your participation. Um, a brief run through of the daily schedule. Yes, I can. Do you have a particular age group in mind? That's perfect. Um, okay, yep. So 13 to 15s. 2-week program in either Oxford or Cambridge. Arrival day is the Sunday. We typically, if you are dropping your child off, it would need to be from 2 p.m. because the colleges aren't open before that. So you'd need to drop off your child between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. If we are collecting your child from London Heathrow, we'll ensure that the student is brought to the college. That's the time for them to check in. They get their welcome packs. They're shown to their rooms. Um, and then there is a welcome talk by the course director who introduces themselves and the on-course team. So you know who's going to be looking after you, who's able to, help you with things where they're situated. We have staff on every single floor. So you will have a sense of, which staff is allocated to your particular floor. And then there's a welcome dinner in the college dining hall, and then we do some icebreaker activities. This really is quite key because we've just got a group of students that have never met each other on the program, so it's a really good way for them to effectively break the ice and get to know one another. Um, the next day, Monday, is when lessons begin. So there's breakfast from 7. Different student groups are given different time slots to avoid lots of overcrowding in the dining halls. The college caterers don't like that. So we try not to upset them. So students have a breakfast in the dining hall between 7 and 9. Typically, students will finish by 8:30. Our on-course team makes sure students are up and ready and in the dining halls having their breakfast. We know a lot of students have different sleep schedules and they'd rather not, or they've just been on a flight and they're a bit tired, but it's good to be able to fight the jet lag. So our on-course team are on it. Students are in the breakfast, they have their breakfast, which is a mix of continental and cooked English breakfast. And there's a fair bit of choice, cereal and pastries, all sorts, which is good. Fresh fruit, and then they go to their lessons, which start at 9. On the first day, the on-course team will accompany the students to make sure that they are finding their classrooms okay. Typically with 13 to 15s, depending on the college, you might have your lessons in your college itself. So in the same building as where you're, maybe a different building to your accommodation block. So that's then quite a short journey. Or if you do have to go to another college for your lessons, the on-course team will take you to make sure you know exactly how to get there. And again, as I said, because of the way in which we do our college allocations, that everything is within 5 to 8 minutes walking of one another. And students are always, if they do go out on their own, it's in a minimum group of three, supervised by a student helper. So they do their lessons, then there's lunchtime. 13 to 15's lunch is included. The on-course team will organize the lunch for you. If it's nice weather, which in the summer in the UK we do see a few good afternoons, we will then have the students typically have like a packed lunch picnic in the college gardens, which is really nice. And then the afternoons, there is the scope for either having some sort of planned activity or a workshop that they would do with a study lead, and these workshops are aimed at building soft skills, skills that you wouldn't typically, be taught in school. You learn how to make presentations, you learn how to write a CV, you learn how to, do a group presentation. So just different types of skills, whether that's debating, public speaking, getting students again, building on their confidence, getting them out of their shells, and focus on the things, that we want them to get better at. The evenings, early evenings before dinner, there's typically a bit of free time where the on-course team plan, either that's games, whether we use the sporting facilities in the colleges, so you can have like a round of basketball or football, or if you're not interested in that, you can do some painting. There's like enough for a different interest range. And then there's dinner, which typically happens either in the college dining halls, or if we want to give you a bit of a break from that, we do take students to local restaurants. The on-course team do collect all dietary requirements. I mean, we collect this as part of getting a student onboarded, but we, make sure that students have picked their choices at the restaurant, because these are like really big group bookings. So they'll know what kind of restaurant we're going to, what kind of food they're going to be having, and they can pick this well in advance. And we cater to all sorts of dietary requirements, so this is typically not a problem. Um, Late evening, they will have time in the common room to spend some time in their activity groups, either doing a planned activity or just, preparing for the next day, catching up on some reading. There is a curfew hour, and all the accommodation blocks are super secure. So the card that lets you in is deactivated after a particular time, so you can't just walk out of the college. And there are what we call porters, but like night guards every single college entrance and exit, so you can't just leave. So there's curfew hour, which is typically around 10:30, where the on-course team make sure that everyone's in their beds, in their rooms. No one's, in each other's rooms, and all of that. And then there's lights out. So that would be your typical day. 13 to 15s on the Wednesday will also have a day trip in addition to the one they have we'll have on the Saturday as well. So that's something to consider as part of the 13 to 15 schedule. But other than that, Fridays we'll see formal hall, and the final Friday is the graduation. Departure is on the Saturday, and that is students are expected to leave their rooms by 12 p.m. So that's the schedule. I think that's the run through of everything you can possibly expect. Um, I'm glad. Thanks, Jane. If you did have further questions, you've got my email. Drop me a line, and I'm happy to talk about whatever doubts you might have. If there are no further questions, did just want to say thank you very much. The weekly admission sessions have been an excellent time for us to talk to prospective families. And it's been a really good opportunity for myself and my team to really, get to know you and help you as you make these decisions. Um, some of our team will be off for the holidays, but we have enough of us around that it shouldn't be too disruptive. So if you do send an email and you don't get an instant reply, it's probably just people are starting to wind down for Christmas, but our offices are open um, till Christmas Eve, and then again after Boxing Day, which is after the 26th of December. So it's just the 25th and the 26th that our offices are closed, and of course, New Year's Day. It's been an excellent quarter having a chance to speak to all of you. We'll come back with more of these information sessions next quarter, starting in January. But in the meantime, obviously, you've got our details. No question is silly, no question is too big or small. Feel free to get in touch with us. And we really hope that we can welcome you on one of our programs in summer 2026. Thank you very much.